Top 10 best metal albums of April, and of course I will be including Metallica 72 Seasons. That have been talking about that so much, but I'm going to mention it like one more time, and we're going to see where this one lands. And spoiler alert, it's not going to be number one. But speaking of that, this is a different type of top 10 for me. I usually pick albums that I had already reviewed on this channel, but because this month was a little different with Metallica, Overkill, and Jethro Tull, I spent a lot of time working on ranking videos. So there were a lot of new metal albums that I didn't have time to listen to when they came out. So for that reason, you're going to be seeing some different albums here that I didn't review. So with that being said, let me get right into it. Coming in at number 10 is Paul Gilbert with the Dio album. This is an all-instrumental album by Paul Gilbert. He's covering songs from Ronnie James Dio, which are either Black Sabbath, Rainbow, or his band Dio. I enjoyed this one a lot. It's kind of different listening to Dio songs without the vocals, but Paul Gilbert, he's a really good guitar player. He did a very good job, and this one's very enjoyable. So for that reason, I have it on this list. At number 9 is Texas Hippie Coalition with The Name Lives On. They're from Texas. They play a combination of southern rock and groove metal. The band themselves describe it as red dirt metal. For me, it's like Leonard Skinner and Black Label Society meet Pantera. The album is called The Name Lives On. It's not a long album. It's 10 songs in 36 minutes. The opening track is called Hellhounds. The song has some very sludgy guitar riffs. The vocals are harsh and gritty. You got a song called Built for the Road, more of a hard rock song with like a kind of a country influence. The song Believe was pretty good. I hear like an influence from like 70s Leonard Skinner. And they have a song called Keep My Name Out of Your Mouth, which I don't know if that was inspired by Will Smith, but one of the heavy ones. It just sounds like Pantera overall. Pretty cool band. I'll probably go back to them, and it's a decent album. At number 8 is Ross the Boss, Legacy of Blood, Fire, and Steel. They are a German and American heavy metal band created by Ross the Boss. He was in the band Manowar, and he created a new band. So it's not a new studio album. It's a compilation of previous songs, but considering that it's the first time I ever listened to Ross the Boss, I decided to include it. I've been a Manowar fan for many years. I thought it was pretty cool. It's a little different than Manowar. They have a different vocalist, so it's probably a bit more on the power metal side, but you got some good tracks here. You got the opening track, Blood of Knives, very fast-paced heavy metal. Sounds a little bit like classic Manowar. Kingdom Arise was a good song. It has those galloping guitars. By Blood Sworn, that was good. It has lots of melodic guitar playing, and I like the guitar solo on that one. So overall, a good album to check out. Coming in at number 7 is Metallica with 72 Seasons. I've talked like so much about this, and this is actually the only one I bought on vinyl. So I guess I like it, obviously. So, but actually, well, I think this is like a good album to own on vinyl because you have the 3 songs on each side. And the songs that go well together, so when you like pick one side of the vinyl, you put it on, it's like 20 minutes of music, and you get like 3 pretty good songs. So my favorite song's still Inamorata, Chasing Light are my favorites, but I really like Room of Mirrors. Actually, I like the last 3 songs, Too Far Gone. So enough about this album. Coming in at number 6 is Holy Moses with Invisible Queen. So the album was released on April 14th, 2023, and they chose to release on the same day as Metallica and Overkill. So it didn't get a lot of attention, but this band has been around longer than both Metallica and Overkill. They play thrash metal, and they're still very thrashy. They're heavier than Metallica ever was. So definitely a good band. It's a female-fronted thrash band. They reminded me a bit of like Arch Enemy. I know that's a different subgenre, but the vocals reminded me of Angela Gossow. They're from Germany, and I guess they were a little similar to Creator as far as the style goes, but songs are very good, but there's a lot of originality here. So like Order Out of Chaos, that one, they do some like different types of like guitar chords. Kind of reminded me a little bit of Voivod. Then the track Invisible Queen, just old school heavy thrash metal. And then Through the Veils of Sleep, more of like a progressive metal feel. But otherwise, a lot of this is just straightforward thrash metal. At number 5, I have some more thrash with Necronomicon, or however you pronounce that, Constant to Death. Another German thrash band. They've been around for a long time, since 1984. This is the first time I ever listened to them. They weren't as popular as some of the other German thrash bands, but I listened to them and they're pretty good. They're just old school thrash metal. Actually, there was a lot of like good thrash released in April. So the opening track, Constant to Death, just old school thrash metal with the chugging guitars. Stored in Blood, this one has some really cool riffs. And the songs are not as fast-paced as maybe like a band like Holy Moses, but they're a little sludgier, but I really like this. There's like a lot of chugging, and it's just old school thrash, which is what I like. And it's kind of like the album that you headbang to. So for that reason, I chose it as number 5. At number 4, I have Majesty with Back to Attack. This is a surprise for me because it's just a very cheesy power metal album. It mixes heavy metal and power metal. I consider them a cross between Manowar and Hammerfall. I did a full review of this, but lots of good songs here. For example, Back to Attack, more traditional heavy metal. Demon War, more of a darker song. Age of Glory has some heavier riffs. Saviors in the Dark is more of a fast-paced melodic power metal song. And the ballad In the Silence, a lot of different stuff here. And supposedly it's their last album for some reason, so for me, definitely worth a mention, and I have it at number 4. At number 3, I have Overkill with Scorched, their 20th studio album. I don't have to say much about this. I did a full ranking, and I did a full review. I've talked about it twice, but I'll touch on it again. It's a solid album. This band doesn't really put out bad albums. I think my favorite songs are The Surgeon. That was the lead single, a very heavy thrasher. I like Twisted a Wick. That one's a nice groove on it. I like Fever. That one's like a little more atmospheric. And the last song, Bag of Bones. That one I liked a lot. It's just a very like bouncy type of song. And that's all. It's Overkill. It's good. And it's number 3. At number 2, I have Enforced with War Remains. Another one I did a full album review, and I kind of picked it apart. I nitpicked a few things, but it's a solid album. I feel this band has a very big Slayer influence, and they sound a lot like Power Trip. And I said all of this in my full review. The first 5 songs on the album are very fast and brutal, so it's just very in-your-face, fast-paced thrash metal. The first side is great, and then the second side, they kind of slow it down a little with like Mercy Killing Fields and Nation of Fear. But everything, like the whole album is very good. I like the title track, War Remains. I like Avarice from the first side. That's like very old school, like Slayer. And I like the final song, Empire. That one, again, it's a little slower, but they do kind of pick it up like later on in the song. So it's a solid album. I have it at number 2. I thought it was going to be my number 1, but my number 1 is an album that a lot of people talked about. I didn't get a chance to review it. It's something different, so here it is. Coming in at number 1 is Dødheimsgard with Black Medium Current. The band is from Oslo, Norway. They are a black metal band, but black metal is just like the core sound. It's very experimental. I guess you can call it avant-garde metal. So I've said this in other videos. I'm not a big black metal fan, but if you mix it up and get experimental, I can get into it. So the album has 9 songs. It's like an hour and 10 minutes. Most of the songs are over 7 minutes. There's one song like under 2 minutes. And I think like one a little over 5. But they change the styles like so much. Like it's an album that kind of keeps you on your toes. So you don't know what's coming next when you listen to it. So for example, the opening track is called Et Smelter. It's 10 minutes. And it just starts with like this acoustic passage. And then it goes on for like the first like 2 or 3 minutes. So at first you're thinking the whole album's going to be like that, but then it just gets like very heavy and brutal, and then it slows down, it gets more atmospheric, so kind of like a roller coaster. Then Interstellar Nexus, this is more of like a progressive death metal kind of song. Reminded me of classic Opeth, but it had that like sci-fi kind of feel to it as well. And the black metal vocals are on here, but there's also these like weirder like melodic clean vocals. There's some like keyboards here and there. There's some like futuristic stuff. They have another song called It Does Not Follow. And in the intro, you know, you think it's like the Red Hot Chili Peppers. It's like this like funky intro. But then everything changes from like super aggressive, then dark and soft and atmospheric and everything in between. So I needed to do a full review of this because like there's so much going on. I probably could have like picked it apart and like explained everything. But I didn't have a chance. Maybe I will someday in the future, but that's all for now. That's my top 10 of April. So give me some recommendations in the comments, anything I missed. Like I said, I didn't do a lot of underground metal this month, but I probably will be doing more of that in May. So thanks for watching. Please remember, like, comment, subscribe. Check out this video here. See you in the next one.